own sweet home, own sweet home. I dream of my own sweet home. Right here, right now, Amit Inamdar will show you how. Call Amit and you are set. Or just visit ownsweethome.net.
DRE license number 013555522 and NMLS number 236574.
Hello Radio Zindagi listeners, Namaste and welcome. Today we have another exciting show with Amit Inamdar along with a special guest. You are going to get the power-packed 30 minutes of information on home inspections from a seasoned home inspector. We always welcome you to call us at 510-770-1550 to ask a question on the radio. However, if you are unable to get in, you can always submit a question for a personal response. Just go to Amit's website, ownsweethome.net, and click on the radio show link to submit your question. Hey, and you can always find Amit Inamdar just by searching his name on Google. Hello Amit and hello Bill, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you Renuka. Hello friends, Own Sweet Home, and welcome to my show. Power Hour with Amit Inamdar. Today we are going to talk about home inspections, and I have a very seasoned home inspector who is in the business for past 12 years with me, Bill Hall. He is with NuCentury Inspections. Bill and I go long ways back together. He has helped many of my clients with their home inspection needs. Today, we are going to hear from him about his experiences, his knowledge, and his advice for you. His company name is NuCentury Inspections, and they provide all three inspections, namely home, termite, and roof. So, let's focus on the home inspection and hear from Bill.
Thank you, Amit, for having me on your show. I appreciate you having me on the show. I've been excited to be here. And as you said, I was been in the business for about 12 years. Previous to that, I was in engineering and management background. And I'm also a general contractor, so I understand the cost and how to perform the repairs and things about the house.
Right. Welcome, Bill. It's good to know that your previous life and current skills. It's I know coming from an engineering background like myself, we are very detailed in everything that we do, and that's what an engineering career makes you do. So for the benefit of listeners, could you please tell us why one needs a home inspection? Let's answer that basic questions, get it out of the way, so we can go on to the more detailed discussion.
Well, when buying a house, you're either existing or new, a home inspection is a critical process in buying the home. It also gives you a peace of mind in your investment, either knowing if there's anything wrong or nothing wrong. So if there is something wrong, you at least have the idea and you're committed to what you're purchasing. General inspection covers multiple systems and structures and components of the property, and we're mainly looking for the safety and damages of a home, and it limits your liability as a home seller or buyer.
All right. So, Bill, does this mean with a home inspection we do not need to do any more inspections? I mean, does that cover most of the things?
Well, that's not entirely true. A termite inspection or a wood-destroying organism inspection and a roof inspection are the main three between the home, termite, and roof are the main three inspections. My team really focuses. I have a termite inspector and a roof inspector to help your clients out in the process of buying a house or selling.
Right. So, if you, what do you really find? Like, when these type of things happen, are you able to diagnose the home from different angles? What kind of home system that you are looking at when you do that?
Well, in a home inspection, I'm mainly looking at the entire house, doing a general inspection of the exterior components, looking for damages and safety. We actually start on the outside of the house and look at the chimney, the roof, the windows, basically the drainage, the foundation. And then we actually go in this house and actually go through all the components, the heating systems, the electrical, the plumbing. and then we test all the appliances as well.
Right.
So,
All right.
listeners, you are listening to Power Hour with Amit Inamdar, and we have a special guest, Mr. Bill Hall from NuCentury Home Inspections with us, and Bill is talking about why it's necessary or to get the home inspection done. So, if you have any questions for Amit regarding real estate and loans, or if you have questions for Bill regarding home inspections, do give us a call in the studio, 510-770-1550. 770-1550. So go ahead, Amit.
Yeah. So, Bill, I have seen your inspection reports, and they are very detailed. They are very comprehensive, and they also provide the summary of the damages, the safety issues that you talked about. You also rate them from repair upgrades, ongoing monitoring, and the safety issues. So let's hear about something that you have found and that has led to significant expense for the buyer or the seller. Of course, I mean that expense, somebody else saved the money when they actually bought something, right?
One of the biggest expenses would be a foundation or structural issue. The costs on structural issues can range from anywhere from tens of thousands to $100,000 for repairs. Roof repairs can range from anywhere from $8,000 to $15,000 depending on the material and the size of the roof. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, do you have any example that you can give us regarding a home inspection?
Well, one of the homes that I was on, there was a gentleman that had lived in the house for 50 plus years, and his house was in immaculate condition, and he even told me that I wasn't going to find anything. And what was really surprising was when I climbed under the house, I was really surprised to see that there was a plumbing leak that had eroded the soils and actually caused a sinkhole of probably about 15 feet wide.
Wow. So were you afraid of getting swallowed in, Bill?
Yeah, I was pretty much standing there under the house in a sinkhole, speaking to the client that was leaning into the crawl space and asking me what I was seeing.
Oh my God!
So the one would have never guessed the presence of this hole, basically because the home you said was so immaculate. And when you have an open house like this, people just walk through the home, but nobody really goes underneath the home during the open house. So how much do you think this owner spent to get that thing cleared?
It was probably close to $20,000 to have that the re-supporting of all the framing and structural. The columns under the house that were supporting the middle of the house had actually fallen into the sinkhole, and the only thing that was holding up the center of the house was the wood framing, the structure.
Wow. No, so that's a very scary story, Bill. I'm glad the owner found the damage in time before the home was swallowed in the sinkhole. That would have been a story that would have gone on the local radio stations, actually, not on our radio show, but on the TV stations. Anyway, listeners, buying and selling a home definitely is a serious business, and home inspection is a critical part of the home buying process. To learn more about home buying process, all inspection aspects, including loan qualification, you must watch the first time home buyer webinar that basically is on my website. If you have any questions for me or Bill, who is a seasoned home inspector, please call our studio number at 510-770-1550. We would love to hear from you.
So listeners, if you are a home buyer and want to hear the recording of the webinar, just visit ownsweethome.net to get an instant access. Yes, and this webinar is free and is easily accessible online on Amit's website, ownsweethome.net. If you want to learn about current market and home buying, you can view the first time home buyer webinar. If you are a first time home buyer or just want to feel comfortable with the home buying process, do visit the website and listen to the recorded webinar. This will not only give you the overview of the home buying process, it will also pre-qualify you, let you know more about neighborhood selections, school selections, etc. Link is located as an image on the left column on the home page. You cannot miss it. If you do not remember the website, hey, you know what to do. Just Google Amit Inamdar, real estate broker, and you will get to his website. After you have viewed the webinar, all your questions may have been answered and you will have new questions. This is when you can have one-on-one meeting with Amit for your loan pre-approval and neighborhood selection. And listeners, this meeting is free one-on-one meeting. That's the real Power Hour with Amit Inamdar.
That's absolutely true, Renuka.
We will be right back after a short break.
Have you joined the Happily Ever After Club?
Happily Ever After Club?
Happily Ever After Club. Membership is automatic once you buy your dream home from Amit Inamdar. He's both real estate and mortgage broker. One stop, no need to shop.
Oh, Amit Inamdar from Own Sweet Home.
Yes, that's Amit from OWN Own Sweet Home. Call him today, 510-364-6686. Again, 510-364-6686. Or visit ownsweethome.net. That is ownsweethome.net. DRE number 013555522 NMLS 236574.
Welcome back, friends. This is Amit Inamdar, and if you are in the market to sell, buy, or finance your home, you will get unbiased advice that will save you money. And that is my promise to you. To get hold of me, just Google my name, Amit Inamdar, real estate broker, and you will know ways to find me. Having all your questions answered at one location by one person and means saving time, money, and having peace of mind that you are being cared for by someone like me who knows this business. Today we are talking about with our seasoned home inspector Bill Hall from NuCentury Inspections. So Bill, you do all these inspections. I mean, do you do these for the benefit of buyers or sellers? I mean, how do they work?
Actually, this is for both benefit of the buyer and the seller. For the buyer, they get to know what's wrong with the house and everything prior to the purchase, so there's no surprises. And for the seller, same thing. There's things that the seller may not see or know that's wrong with their home, and they can take care of these issues prior to the sale.
Yeah, like the sinkhole you talked about, right?
Exactly.
Right, yeah. And the buyers get a lot of emotional about the home condition, right?
Yeah, the buyers get very emotional and get wrapped up into the sale, and they're always they're afraid of the unknown. And so that's what the whole purpose of having these inspections done prior to them purchasing it, is get rid of that unknown and feel comfortable with what you're purchasing.
Right. So what are the limitations of these inspections? I mean, of course, no seller is going to allow you to dig through the soil or break through the walls, right?
Yeah, inspections are really limited to what you can see and access. So there's times where in the garage things are stacked to the ceiling, and or maybe there might be, in one case I had a client where the seller really didn't want somebody in a certain room. They had their belongings or had maybe their mom's antique, so they had a door locked. So there's times where we don't have access to everything, but we try to get as many places as we can so we can give you a more thorough report as possible.
Listeners, you are listening to Power Hour with Amit Inamdar. If you have any questions regarding real estate or loans, do give us a call, 510-770-1550, 510-770-1550. And today we have a special guest, Mr. Bill Hall, with us. And Bill is a home inspector, and he works with NuCentury Home Inspections. And Amit, you have a next question for Bill?
Right. So, Bill, I mean, you talked about the accessibility of the inspections, and they're limited to visible areas, and you don't do any destructive testing, and you cannot dismantle any equipment and things like that. So, and these areas may be accessible, as you said, with respect to soil, wall, floor coverings, personal belongings, or any other things. I know, I mean, one of the properties that we inspected recently, the seller had locked the room and we could not even inspect that. So, I mean, that becomes a limitation of what you are able to do because you don't have access to it. And I remember one time you were telling me about the rodents underneath the house, which basically allowed you not to go underneath the house because of the presence of the rodents. So these are the things. I mean, and you want to talk about like the crawl space and the what happens inside the crawl space from the standpoint of water being there and you're not being able to inspect?
Yeah, due to the, when you have an inaccessible area and rooms are locked and Like you said, if you I get under a house and all of a sudden I see a big rodent and everything, I'm not going to put myself in jeopardy to crawl a house. So these are limitations. You're always you also want to make sure the inspector's safe when we're under the house.
Right. No, absolutely. As a matter of fact, the part of the real estate contract says when buyer or seller hire the inspector, and inspector gets hurt, they definitely not going to sue the seller or the buyer to kind of because of the things that are happening to the inspector. So I believe you guys are licensed and bonded.
Yes.
All right. Okay, good. So let's kind of go back to the garage that you were talking about. The most of the times in inaccessible areas like garages, right, where sailors stash all their belongings to make the home roomy, right? And so what happens in those cases? You're not able to see a lot of the things in the garage.
Well, if we're in an inspection and the area is not visible or accessible, we'll also put down that we recommend further inspection. So if there is areas that your client's concerned with that we can't see, that's where we can be invited back after it's been removed, and we can take a look at the areas that weren't visible or accessible at the time. In fact, I did an inspection, and there was a garage where things were piled up to the ceiling, and when they had everything removed, we went back in and took a look at everything and found out there was some pretty extensive moisture damage. In fact, after they opened up the wall and took a look, there was over $10,000 in repairs to have the framing redone.
Wow. So the further inspections are very critical, like you are saying. And another thing I wanted to find out was...
I remember one time in one of the Milpitas homes, there was mold. When the garage stuff was removed, there was mold on the ceiling, and it took the sailor, I think, was like a $15,000-$20,000 worth of mold remedy thing to do.
Right. I remember that. The thing is, the roof was leaking, and from the roof leak, the water had come inside the attic. From the attic, it has come down the ceiling, and over the years, the mold had grown, and
it was such a small spot. And Bill, you saw that, and you said, "Okay, I do recommend a mold inspection."
Right. So I remember that clearly. So coming back to the garage, just to know what kind of clearance do you typically require when you want to do a garage inspection when there is a lot of stuff packed in?
Well, usually on the termite and the home inspection, we'd like your clients or the buyer, seller, depending on whose house it is. We want them to clear it away, so we have at least 2 to 3 feet so we can walk around and look at all the exposed walls and things.
All right.
And that goes for any room. The more that we have visibility to, the better the inspection is, and the less limitations there are.
All right. So as they say, for your own protection, always do a home inspection and always take any further inspection items very, very seriously. Just because something is not inspected does not mean there ain't any issues. I talked about these in my previous shows. If you remember, guys, that's about home inspection red flags. So, Bill, even though you have a licensed termite and roof inspectors in your company, you also do a limited inspection of these items that may overlap with these inspections, right?
Yeah, that's true. Even though I'm not a licensed termite inspector, I'll be calling out damages that I see, and I can actually call insect damage, but I'm not allowed to actually call it termite damage. The termite that license is reserved for the termite inspector. So there's a lot of damage or things that I find that are on a home inspection that actually overlap other inspections. I'll call out issues with the roof and call out issues with moisture or water damage that the termite inspector or the roof inspector may already call.
So that leads to my next questions. When you do these inspections, and I read all these reports, the termite and roof inspection typically have the costs listed. But when I look at the home inspection report from any home inspector, not just you, there is no repair estimates on the home inspection. Why is that? That's always a question, and we may have to sometimes get a handyman or a contractor to get in to know what the actual damage is, because my buyers won't know what it is unless they see the numbers.
Yeah, that's actually one of the big misconceptions of a home inspection. A home inspection actually covers multiple licenses, and the state law indicates if an inspector inspects more than one license, they're not allowed to bid on anything to do with that report. It keeps them basically non-biased, and so they can't profit from any of the findings.
I see.
Listeners, you're listening to Power Hour with Amit Inamdar, and we have a special guest today, a home inspector from NuCentury Home Inspections, Mr. Bill Hall. And Amit and Bill are talking about why you should do the home inspection.
Right.
So, if you have any questions, we still have a few more minutes. 510-770-1550, 770-1550.
Right. So the bill you're talking about why the home inspector cannot give the bids and stuff. And I'm sure in the beginning you mentioned about home inspector has to be unbiased and cannot profit from his own findings. And that's one of the other reasons, which is in the benefit of the buyers anyway. Because otherwise, if you find tons of damage, then you get to repair it and you get to retire sooner, right?
Yeah, I'd be a millionaire.
Right, absolutely. So listeners, again, as Renuka said, do call us at 510-770-1550. Today we are talking with Bill Hall from NuCentury Inspections. So Bill, many of my clients purchase older homes with older electrical circuits or electrical systems. How safe are these homes, and what's your take on them?
Oh, well, it's not necessarily bad to have an older home with older systems. This is something that we see when we're doing inspections. We see older homes and we go through and we're actually noting down any of the systems that could be upgraded, either because of safety reasons or primarily building codes have changed over the years. So it's not that any of these things need or are required to be upgraded, but it's more for notifying the buyer or the seller that there's things that can be upgraded, and so they understand what they're purchasing prior to close of escrow.
Right. And then the old house may have code violations and stuff based on the current codes, but you can probably find those code violations, I believe, in a home as old as like just 1 year old, right?
Yeah, if the house is if its house is built and it's a brand new home, sometimes the builder pulls that permit 5 years in advance. So sometimes those codes are out of date, depending on the builder and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so even when we're doing new homes, we go through and notify you if we recommend anything upgraded for safety purposes.
Right. So the permits kind of open up a can of worms, Bill. I have so many buyers who are worried about buying a home with no permits and things like that. So what's your take on that?
Well, permits are basically the bare minimum safety standards that the state or city requires. So it's not that when you have an unpermitted addition or room or even remodel, it doesn't mean that it wasn't done right. The permit is actually a way to disclose or have it in writing that it was done to the bare minimum standards at the time that it was done.
Right. So I remember one time there was a roof replacement recommended by the roofer, and my client basically replaced the roof after buying the house, and they found additional wood damage underneath the roofing material. So the thing is, and I had actually warned my buyer about that if the seller doesn't replace it, when you replace it, you may find like a wood damage underneath. And he was still okay with the purchase and doing that. And the damage at that time could have been inspected, or the seller could have completed the roof repairs, and the seller would have borne the cost of doing that. So additional repairs may get necessary when you open up these inaccessible areas, right?
Oh, that's right. The whole purpose of having the inspection is to point out and let the client know about further areas that need to be investigated or that are damaged, because once you hire a contractor or hire somebody to do that work, they're going to open up those areas, and it's really possible that they're going to find existing or more damage that wasn't visible from the exterior.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember this purchase in Sunnyvale where I held in our stance with the seller to provide us with like this Section 1 clearance, and there was a termite report that said the damage was almost like $8,000, and seller finally agreed to our repair request rather than giving us a credit. Actually, seller was willing to give a credit so we could use it after the close of escrow. But at the same time, what happened was at the end we ended up finding there was as high as $15,000 worth of damage that eventually the seller ended up paying for. You know.
So, any last thoughts, Amit and Bill?
So, Bill, you want to go?
Well, I highly recommend having inspections done on any house, even newer homes. New construction, I go into newer homes that are less than a year old, sometimes even built right from the builder before they've even moved in, and we find things that aren't finished with the house. Heating and electrics, things that aren't even connected.
Oh, I see. Yeah, so I think the takeaway from the show is a home inspection is definitely a key to a peace of mind, and making sure what you are purchasing with over $500,000 is going to be a good buy, and you are not going to see a lot of problems afterwards. So with listeners, have a great weekend. Thank you again, Bill, for the wonderful show, and I'll see you next week.